And on a more positive and personal note, this appears to be the way life is now. You wake up in a relatively beautiful, very quiet little place. There are neighbours, but they're not particularly obstructive. And because the walls are actually quite thin, that works to your favour. So if there's any intruders, they're going to spot them and raise the alarms. It's like a sort of a human guard dog. So they're sort of quite cowardly compared to me. They'll sort of shriek and squeal, and that'll wake me up. I can get the sword out. So it's a good partnership naturally. The place is quite, as I say, peaceful though regardless. Very nice bit of the city. You can kind of sort of wander out and come to a place like this and be away from the Mottram Bailey for a bit, to be fair, but it's a good place to think matters through and discuss the sort of corruption, the sort of people who couldn't get off their backside and come here to discuss serious departmental matters after you've done full security reviews and that kind of stuff, and are there effective sort of mental health doctor while doing their possession order stuff because they're all criminally incompetent otherwise. Again, there's another run-on statement. The best part of the statement is well, actually, on reflection. The run-on statements get so absurd that you sort of run out of breath saying them. And I suppose then you pull back and did when you were younger, and that reduced your credibility so as someone hit you and, I don't know. But you think about the sort of biology versus witness statements, because when you exercise and think, you do that. Your next inference is only as good as your body will tolerate. You're doing damage to your body along the way, so you pull on the bar and you slam your lats and your hurts and that kind of stuff. It stops the inference, but because you're disconnecting the two, it tunes your brain up, so the process goes in cycles, brain works better, and you tune it up. So when you say it's linked from neurology to body, this is why employer is criminally liable, because they didn't explicitly help. My colleagues are suffering from a condition called dyspraxia, which means you're uncoordinated. So this can be quite embarrassing. Your body doesn't work properly. This kind of stuff, bad for every aspect of your life. Should receive physio, because if you don't give a tosh, you're not going to give them physio, are you? So the benefit again of being in Edinburgh is there are lots of casualties sort of bumbling about. You walk past someone face down on the street with a mouthful of vomit, and you can either walk past and leave them to die, or you can not do that. Given the way the modern world is, I seem to be the person doing that on occasion, but people aren't still totally inhuman, and you can get potential corpses off the street into the back of an ambulance late at night via the congestion, with the bridge being shut down, causing a hazard. But people still do look after each other more than the rummies did, including the doctors who didn't come round to my home in ever. So again, there's another run-on sentence. I can't remember when I was originally going with the start of this thought, other than the positive notes. It was a positive note attempt to start this one on, wasn't it? Oh yeah, that's it. So your options are either just sort of exist in a comparatively disinhibited environment compared to the Maoist terror that befell Birmingham. Again, as long as guns, gold and sterling has value, and I can get meat via electronic cash, then I'm probably okay. Possibly my assets should be liquidated at some point. We'll try and work it out. But thankfully, being away from imbeciles gets you into contact with people who, at least, even if they were the worst human capital imagined, let's assume these people are at least better than criminals, then they're a better peer group than many of the people in Birmingham. I'm greatly appreciative of all the connections I've made since working north of the border. But given they're all sort of part of a thymotic energy network to power the Sped cannon, when you think back to its construction, you hadn't thought about that for several months. I do recall sitting here in the cold, sort of constructing the sort of matrix of inferences and experiential will-based events that let you tear out this woman's throat. But again, since she hasn't actually replied via any kind of sensible process at any point, by the reasonable person standard would conclude that has conducted the matter in any kind of sensible and amicable way, then we don't give a shit what she thinks. So again, if you could make a statement that would involve barking this kind of stuff in someone's face and being correct and being able to do it, not particularly worried about being sort of violently assaulted over the next 30 seconds, then that would help in legal proceedings. So I'm sure the old man would do this in kind of court. He'd made the correct inference, and once you worked out the pounds and pence, you'd get up and bark in people's faces and tell them no, go on, fuck off, go off to jail, you're a revolting character, and mean it. And of course, if you've got the will, you've got the representation, you've got the correct legal inference, and therefore you've got the money, which is a second order effect, and it's just sort of something that flows through as and effectively an irrelevance. But I don't know. In terms of ungumming pipes, you've got an excellent flushing clearance team. If you want someone to break down doors and pull people out of properties, we've got an expert team, I assure you. So if you want to go from hard enforcement into a more genteel, cordial and cooperative professional relationship with serious professionals who are looking at assisting other human beings with resolving problems that may affect their lives in a proactive, pro-social, pounds and pence matching service that may be a benefit to them and their families, then that's certainly a better way of selling your time than Joanne Roney's revolting and corrupt patronage network designed to shovel human flesh into her gaping maw. Saturn White, she consumes the grain of the Kurdish children in her Lysenkoist murder factory. I mean, again, it's not even hyperbole, is it? Think about the future, think about the consequences of her behaviour, look at the literature, write a 500-word essay on your conclusions. I suppose to be fair to the Catholics, I mean, if it is a sink or swim and you're going to actually try and do any kind of creative writing project at all, and you do kind of do Plato's cave-five mushrooms and get accused of plagiarism, it'll still keep you angry decades later, and you still won't care. You'll still be right, they'll still be wrong. I suppose you had a decent supply teacher who let you do that kind of stuff, but Miss Greenwood can hold you back from the true nature of the beautiful history of the Germans, all she likes, but none of this shit matters. We're going to actually absolutely tear them apart once the obvious links are made. You've got the most corrupt organisation in Europe, and they're so low grade, they're so easy to catch. The old man's project, if it's anything, was the Emperor's New Clothes. Julian just gets to look at that and say, no, I'm sorry, you appear to have no clothes on, what are you jabbering about? And again, a simple child can hear my statements, not knowing a word of who I am, and just giggle and say, oh, go on, managing director, tell us what you mean. Equity, what do you mean? She won't have an answer, because as soon as she has to have a jovial spirit, she gets arrested. So this is why everyone loves Randy. His opponents really hated him because he was sort of chuckling as they went to prison. The cold reading soothsayers had this wonderful career path mapped out. They'll keep it going, they'll retire on this wheeze, and he's just giggling and tearing it all apart. And maybe it's a bad stage magician thing, maybe it's a bit too wordy, maybe it's a bit dark. Maybe people say, you're making fun of the dead, and people have people want comfort in their bereavement, this kind of stuff. But yeah, he saw through it because he could think ethically. No, this is not right. Come on, you can't make money off people's grief. So at the end, this is why he was a hero. He said no, meant it. And this is why nobody thinks of the Uri Geller and these people anymore. So for Boyce's benefit, we'll end that recording then, so that's a more positive note. This is why the postmodernists always lose, it's always a poisoned chalice. You use the postmodernist argument to fuck with people, you scare them a bit. So the sending the Metal Gear Solid emails to someone like a Gentieri is fun, it spooks her. But at the end of the day, when the point comes in, the sword goes through our throats, which being ethical, you're running a public body based on objective concerns, which is where did the root of that comes from, woman? Yeah, literally last second inference, by the way.